What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of most ages? Hey, welcome to Friday Night Live with myself, Christopher Rausch, and my beautiful co-host, Mr. Scott Goyette. What's going on, Scott?
Oh, I just got out to our little lake cabin and I'm relaxing, which is a nice thing to do. It's very nice.
Hell yeah! After the year we've already been through, fuck. I mean, geez, it's like it's like halftime at the Super Bowl. Going, hey, everybody, just like go chill out and relax.
Oh, it feels good. Yeah, I'm trying to do it. We're gonna do a quick show tonight. Talk about what it means to be a good American, right? Make that happen.
Freedom, independence. Yes, 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 most definitely. So, what are you up to this weekend?
So we've got a few friends at the cabin. They're actually outside drinking some beers, warming up, and I'm gonna head out with them after this, and then we're just gonna hang out here, go to the pool, relax, all that. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, pretty much. We're gonna just hang out at the house, sit by the pool, and then tomorrow night we're gonna do the blow up movie theater in the front yard and have some movies and popcorn and a couple of drinks and just chill out and just relax and just stay away from the chaos. Just try to have our own little fun.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, actually, all the fireworks, because we're in Texas. All the fireworks have been canceled everywhere. Like everyone kept trying to go to a deeper, remote town, and they just kept getting canceled. So they put a sign on our door: "Do not use fireworks. Do not not just the social distancing piece, but everything's dry too." So there's like a double whammy here: no fireworks. Just hang out with a few close friends, drink a beer, and you're good to go.
Well, hopefully everybody adheres to that. For the last month, since the protests have been happening here in Riverside, it's every night. It sounds like there's car bombs going off. It sounds crazy. It sounds like a war zone here. And so I'm just anticipating what this weekend's going to be like. And hopefully it's just going to not be destructive and disruptive any more than it's been. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're here to celebrate, the 4th of July and independence. He's at least here in the United States. For you guys that are watching internationally, that's what we get together for, is the 4th of July, and we celebrate our independence and our freedom. And that's what Scott and I wanted to come to you tonight with, and just kind of talk about our perspectives and our opinions about freedom and independence and what it means to what we can do now collectively as a unity and for humanity to make the world a better place. And I think, Scott, you had some excellent ideas on this subject, so I'll let you lead off.
Yeah, and you were talking about the concept of independence, and I think we need to start being independent thinkers. When you were speaking the other night, right now there are so many opportunities for us to drift into these, rabbit holes and just start going on these tangents and these thoughts, and we're denying science and denying the experts on things, and just in this place of denial. And I think we got to step back to a place and be a smart thinker and go back to that space of independence and thinking. And so maybe look at Independence Day, like you mentioned, that it's not just so, independent, that we're an independent country, but even as individuals, I think we've all got to start to just wake up and start thinking, and not jumping on these like tangents and going down these little rabbit holes and being so worried about conspiracy theories or all these things. And let's just get back to basics and be good human beings and stay involved and just do the right thing and be a kind human being. I mean, that will take us far. And I think we got to start that this week. And that should be what the fireworks are for, is to start living like.
Absolutely, dude. I can't agree anymore, because when you think about, what the Declaration of Independence was founded on and what it meant at that particular moment in time, and how it is so poignant now with the protests and everything that's going on in the uprising around the world. I mean, it's like a reinstatement of the fact that, hey, we want our independence. We want our ability to choose our lives and choose our futures, and to have that, ability to be who we are at our core level. I think that's one of the things I've been seeing the most, Scott, is that people are just dying just to be who they want to be. And they feel so conflicted by everybody that's coming down on them, saying, you should be like this, you should do this, you should be this way, you should be that way, you should conform to us. We're going to make you conform to us. We're going to have these little groups and these little societies and everything. I mean, what are your thoughts on that as far as a collective of what they're trying to pigeonhole us into?
You just said a beautiful word. It's one of the most simple words we could use in the show. You said who they want to be, not who they want to do. And I'm saying that in the sense that we're in such a do world that I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this. And we're always doing something. And I think that this time has forced us to sit and really think who we are. Like, who do we want to be? Who are we becoming? What are we? And I think that's freaking us out. And so, one of the things that's been interesting to me is I've seen so many of my friends who are deeply spiritual people, and I would have said that they're some of the smarter people I know. And I've watched a lot of these people start to go down these rabbit holes, like I'm saying, and they're starting to believe these crazy thoughts. And I shouldn't say they're crazy thoughts. This is what I want to consider. Right now, we've got an operating system, a system that we function under, okay? And so that system has allowed for systemic problems. We've got systemic racism, systemic issues. So in that system, a lot of people are trying to update that system. We're trying to do things differently. Here's the problem. We got a massive caveat thrown in while we're updating our system. I think a lot of people were waking up, growing up. We were stepping together. The economy's going. Things are happening. This COVID thing stepped us back to really just be, and we realized that there's problems in this system and the updates to this system. And so what I mean by that is, think of this. Right now, we can say liberty and justice for all. We can say freedom for all. But what is all? Do you and I have the same exact view of America and our opportunities as a Black man or a Hispanic woman? I mean, do we? And so I think what we have to start doing is, what do we want to be as individuals? And then what do we really want to be as a country? And there's a lot to that. I mean, we could go a lot longer than a half hour on this. What are your thoughts?
No, that's a great point you bring up, Scott, because actually one of my guests that's going to be up on Tuesday night for the Raw and Unscripted show is Jesus Ortiz, and his story, and getting to know him, being on his podcast and learning about his journey from Mexico to the United States, not knowing any English, and seeing what he's accomplished, up and rising, inspirational speaker. And he's like latching on to all of us and like, hey, what can I learn from you? And he's getting coaching, and just listening to his story is so amazing. He's like, and he told me the same thing as my friend Miguel Sanchez, who came here from another country. Again, he goes, dude, any white person here who's not successful, that's their own fucking fault. And that's the thing that I see that's so amazing, is like, there's so much opportunity here, but so many people are just like blindsided by their own limiting beliefs. And that's one of the things I know you and I are very passionate about, is trying to figure out, how do we bust open that bullshit meter that says I'm not worthy. I got to keep punishing myself, and I can actually be happy with stuff. I mean, that's the crazy thing that when I think about freedom and independence, my first thought, honestly, Scott, is like freedom of thought. When I think about Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, that book blew my mind open. It was like, holy fuck, he's like in a concentration camp. He's being beaten. He's given like a morsel of bread and a little bit of water. And he's like, you cannot take away the fact that I can choose my own feelings. And I was like,
it's unbelievable.
Damn.
And that really says it all right there. And I want to share something with you. When I got into teaching 13 years ago, I had no idea what it meant to become a college professor. I was literally hired, and 2 weeks later, I'm in a classroom, and that's a whole different story. But I remember after my first year, I was trying to, figure out, like, how do you deal with the, different cultures within the classroom, like the smartest kid and the kid who's struggling, and how do you teach to all of these kids, especially at a community college level, because you've got somebody who's making 30 grand a month, who's coming back to take some business classes. You've got a kid who's a stoner. You've got a kid who's super smart. You've got a guy who's an engineer who's taking some classes to go back to get an MBA. So you have a really diverse group in there. Here's what I learned. I started to learn quickly who I could predict were going to be not only the good students, but the students who didn't take things for granted. They would call me and say, I can't come to class. And I was almost laughing, like, you don't have to call me. But then I was like, thank you very much for calling me. And I appreciate that you respect this as if it were a job or a partnership. And I really see that. I see you. And so I accepted that instead of saying you don't need to do it, because there were great practices. And guess who they were? A lot of times they were the older folks, but almost always they were foreigners. They were foreigners or people who came from a place of less, what's the word we're using again? Just blanking on my mind's blanking here.
Equity?
No, what's the word we've been using that everyone's getting upset about, saying white?
Privilege.
So that's why we can't start drinking.
I'm like white mayonnaise, white chocolate chips, like white on white crime. What?
So the students in general who had less privilege always did better. And then I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and he's one of the most amazing professors I know. And he teaches at the University of Texas in the MBA program. He's been the director of their entrepreneurial institute. He's worked with all the startup organizations through UT. And I'll never forget, he clarified that to me one day. I said, who are your best students? He didn't skip a beat. He said, without question, it's my foreign students. And I'm like, and who else? And he goes, the minorities who found a way to get to school, who were first generation students, because they're busting their butt. They don't take this for granted. And so when they come to class, they don't say, should I go to class today? They say, are you kidding me? I've got an opportunity to be in college, and they find a way to get there. And so I don't think anyone's to blame here. I'm not pointing fingers and saying, you know, the average American is lazy or this or that. It's a complacency issue. There's a thing that happens once you've got things good, you sit back and relax. But here's the deal. Think of this. If we were spawned from a creator, okay, and so we're listening to this. So there's a creator who created us, and we are part of that creation. Why would we be just coasting by? We need to be creating and building, right? And so that's what I want to recommend to everybody is let's get back to that space where we're constantly building, constantly creating, and constantly contributing to this world. What do you think, Chris?
No, I think that's a fabulous situation, dude. And my first thought is I'm trying to put myself into the listener's like frame of mind, because you and I are positive, and I forget that how much work we've done on ourselves and how much people. I was just involved. I just got involved in this guys group kind of thing. It's like this private thing. And I was surprised to hear about how much they didn't know about personal development. I'm like, I thought everybody knew about personal development. I thought everybody knew about these concepts. And I was kind of blown away, Scott, because I was like, a lot of people don't understand personal development and how you like your beliefs inspire realities that inspire your actions, that and all these ricochet effects that happen, or these domino effects that happen. And, you know, I think that's the one thing that we can do as a team is try to unlock that for people. So my question to you is thinking, how do we get people to realize that they are more part of the solution than they are part of the problem, based on all their years of conditioning and all their years of beliefs that they've been going by and writing that story and writing that truth? How do we break them out of that to be able to like really be free? Because when I think about freedom, Scott, I think about, honestly, it's crazy and it's so stupid. I was telling my wife this earlier. We were sitting in the pool. I'm like, it's so crazy that so many people are dying just to be themselves. And that's what we're born to be. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So here's where I would start with that. And I've said this so often when talking to students, talking to clients: no shame, no blame, reframe. Now I'll say that again. It's no shame, no blame, reframe. Because here's the deal, all right? When we start to say words like white privilege, or we start to say, you know, a word that you haven't heard, the first thing we do as human beings is we go, oh, it's one of those guys. And that's a defense mechanism, so we don't have to participate in something that's scary. Totally get it. So when I started as a business professor, and when I was in business, I was really anti-woo-woo. I thought things should be scientific, black and white. Okay, this is numbers. This is how it works. I was not into the things I'm saying now. I've evolved into that space. I incorporated some of the stuff from some personal growth strategies, but anything woo-woo still sounded irritating to me, to be honest with you. It didn't sound like something a man would do. And I'm
the no self-help fluffy bullshit guy. I get it.
Yes, we've had this conversation. Like, there's a point where you're like, but there's this is what's happening right now. A lot of times a man's man, as we'd call it, you know, a man's guy, you know, it's like, you know, you punch your buddy in the arm as hard as you can to give him a bruise to let him know you love him, you know, and you never say I love him, because that would mean you don't love him. So you got to be tough. Like, we all gone through that. Let's get to that space of no shame, that we were built in a certain way that's not right or wrong, but we can show you something that's even better. And now listen to what I said. I didn't say that's better. It's even better. Not saying what you're doing is wrong, because you're doing something good right now. You got to this point. We're proud of you. Like, there's no question about that. Now, what we've got to do is we've got to say, if you're afraid that someone's going to come in and take your job who doesn't speak this language and has no money and wanders over the border, let's just sit right now and let's think about that. That's an unfound fear. Because you have every opportunity in the world, starting with the fact that you speak the language, you have friends, you have counterparts, you're way ahead of the game. So when we really get honest with ourselves, let's get rid of that shame, okay? And let's stop blaming the wrong people. Here's who we can blame, okay? Let's step outside of ourselves for a minute. First and foremost, we've got to take accountability. That doesn't mean blame yourself. We can look around and we can say, there's systems that have held us back. I didn't have as much money as this guy. This teacher was a jerk. We get it. But at the end of the day, all those stories have one commonality. It's me. Comes back. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm no shame that my upbringing wasn't exactly as I wanted it. I'm not going to blame everybody else. I'm going to look to the facts and say, how can I shift this dynamic with what I can control to move forward? And then I'm going to reframe my situation. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. All right. Like yesterday, Chris, I mean, I couldn't get on a show with you because my brain was just exploding. In full disclosure, I mean, I've got a lot of stuff that I've been super stressed out. So what I did all day today was I went into my personal growth mode, and I've been doing my meditation. I've been shifting some gears. I've had some rest time, and I'm feeling good again. But I also don't take that for granted at all. So, when we're sitting here coaching other people, I mean, I had a coaching client this morning. I've done work today in the middle of all this where I'm feeling deep sorrow and a lot of negativity, but that doesn't own me by any means. And I don't blame anybody for that.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, here's the simple deal. You've got stuff going on. The next guy's got stuff going on. Let's be frank. We live in the United States of America. You and I are white males. It doesn't even matter. We're in the United States of America. Align to like-minded people. Get your 5 who are strong and smart and make you a better human being. And you can't fail. And I know that sounds, I'm making it sound easy. And here's the truth. And this is the stuff that we're going to be teaching in our coaching program, and people are going to go deep on this. If you wipe the lenses of listen, observe, voice, and empathize, and you wipe the lenses of how you connect to this world, and they were cleaner, first of all, you're going to see more clearly. Then I guarantee you the next thing that happens is when you look at the next piece, if you sever the cords of old emotions and old patterns, and you could do it like that, if you really could do it, the transition from being nothing to being massively successful and happy would be instantaneous. Now, here's the deal. How do you make it happen instantaneous when you've got all these old patterns and these things to break the ties with? I'll tell you a couple ways. 1, just be insanely brilliant. 2, you could have a coach. Combine the 2. But there's something that's even more important. Discipline and motivation, and be willing to start. So the discipline is, I'm going to get a coach, or I'm going to do this on my own, but I'm going to do it. Discipline is going to overrule even motivation. There's going to be days that you do not want to listen to Chris or I talk or get on the coaching call. You do not want to do the things you need to do. But those days when you're not motivated, that discipline is going to make you go through the motions. We can talk about this stuff till we're blue in the face. I mean, go ahead, because I know you've got a ton to add, but this is all it is. Like, we've made this so freaking complicated. It's not complicated. Get somebody to help you work through it if you can't work through it yourself. And I guarantee you'll get to where you want to be. Just stop telling yourself you can't, because it gets old. You can.
Bam! Mic drop, mic drop, mic drop, mic drop. Hey, this is the tattoo I was telling you about earlier. Remember I was telling you about this part?
You're frozen.
Huh? Frozen?
Yeah, you look good though. You're frozen.
No, I'm not frozen.
You're happy.
How am I frozen? I feel like I'm moving. No, but when they did that part, sorry, Scott and I were talking about our tattoos earlier, so I just had to show them this. Like, when they did this part, like below my thing, that's where I was like, holy shit. But anyway, sorry guys. No, what you're saying, Scott, is like absolutely spot on. It's the fact that, like I was saying before with Viktor Frankl, it's like the most amazing fact in our life. And let's deal with facts, not opinions. Let's deal with the fact that each of us has the ability, the control, the wherewithal in most situations to choose what we focus on the most. So if you wake up and you focus on the news, guess what? Garbage in, garbage out. And like Scott was saying, keep it simple. If you're focusing on what is the worst that can happen, then guess what? Your mind is going to subconsciously try to find evidence to realize that that's what's going to happen. You have the freedom of thought. You have the freedom of the ability to focus anywhere you want to focus. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this other show with Pam, talking about rainbows of real life. What is it that we can focus on? There are 4,471,000 articles that say positive news stories in 2020. 4 million. But we're focusing on CNN and MSNBC and Fox and all this other bullshit when there's 4 million stories out there about people doing amazing fucking things. And it goes back to what I was saying the other day, Scott, I can't remember, it was a Facebook Live. It was like the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule proves itself time and time again. There's 80% of the people in this world who are standing up saying, hey, we love each other. Black, white, straight, gay, Republican, Democrat, fat, short, whatever the fuck. We love each other. And the other 20% are trying to divide us. But we have the freedom to be able to say, hey, am I going to focus on that shit? Or am I going to focus on being a part of the solution, not part of the problem, which is another thing we espouse a lot, right?
100%. 100%. No, I mean, I love it. I mean, so one of the things, you know, we're sitting here right now in our country. I want to share something with everybody right now. I want to share something about you personally that I think everybody needs to know. So,
me? I was not a stripper. I was not a stripper. It was a thing at a club one time. Fuck.
I actually met Chris in jail 12 years ago now. So here's the scoop.
I was the pitcher.
that was another cellmate, bro. So here's the deal. I want you guys to know, why is somebody in a position as a coach, and why would you even trust that person anyway? I'm going to tell you how simple this is. It's so ridiculously simple. It's crazy. And Chris just said it, but I want to fine tune it a little more. If you're somebody, okay, who says, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, and your visions are all over the place, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to coach somebody else because you're not tuned in. If you listen to Chris 24/7, he's always saying, no excuses, be your best. No excuses, be your best. No bullshit. Come on, you can do it. You got it. You're smart. You can do it. Get up. Don't do. It's the same thing. He says he's doing the same thing. Yep. What he wants from you and from his life is so evident and so easy to understand and so consistent that's why you want to come to him. And listen to this closely. If Chris is constantly, and I'm doing the same thing with him, but I want you to think about him specifically. If he's sitting here hyper-focused on making sure that you are not making excuses, it's in his title, it's in just don't make excuses. So just get the discipline, get the motivation, do what you got to do. What do you think, what kind of energy is he attracting from the universe for that consistency? I guarantee you, he's going to feed that to you, and he's going to mirror, you're going to mirror that consistency he has. What do you think is going to happen when you have that consistency? I guarantee you, you'll succeed. I guarantee it. So that's the reason we're partnering together, because he's hyper aligned with the fact of no excuses, no bullshit. And I'm hyper aligned with the fact that I've got this program, Love and Fear. And together, we're literally helping you not only eliminate the excuses, giving you a pathway to clean up the lens, and then sever yourself from those old patterns and the BS that's holding you back. And then it's going to synchronize. It's just going to be no bullshit, fall in love with yourself, get rid of all these things that are no longer serving you. Boom, there you are. So you're frozen now. You look even better.
I look too.
Am
I frozen?
Sideways,
How am I frozen? Happy. I'm not frozen.
For me, you are.
Well, it might be your Wi-Fi. I'm like, I still got I'm hardwired right now, dude. I'm hardwired.
I have no Wi-Fi. I'm on phone, so I'm surprised it's even working. I'm happy it's working.
Look at Jesus. Jesus Ortiz is going to be my guest on Tuesday night. Jesus is a fucking rock star. Came to this country not even knowing English, and has been able to establish himself as an inspirational speaker and a motivational force in the world. So yeah, I can't wait to have you on the show Tuesday nights. You know, Scott, we've dropped a lot of truth right now already. And for me, when I think about what's going on in the world and what's going on with individuals, the thing that I go back to is the fact that people are choosing to be a victim versus a victor, that they're choosing to believe their truth about what may have happened so many years ago. And my question to you, dude, and I've never asked you this before, but what is truth? You know, when you really think about it, you think about when I go back to my childhood and is something that I think is a truth, is that really true? Or is that my perception of the situation that happened? And I'm making it believed to be my truth based on my own perception if I'm a victim or am I a victor. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that's one thing that can really unlock people to be able to be that freedom to be who they are. Because for me, so many people have said, I just love the fact that you're just who you are. And I'm trying to figure out how to help people unlock that for themselves. And I think it has to go back to the truth.
Yeah. So in depth, we cover that throughout the love and the fear model in depth. And I'm trying to think of the simplest way to, so we just tapped into it, right? Once you have, so I'm going to break it down as simply as possible without going into too much depth. I also want to say hi to Jesus, by the way. I'm connecting with him as well through you. He bumped into me through one of our shows, so we're meeting up next week too. So hi, Jesus. I'm looking forward to
it's all happening.
It's all happening. Like we're all supporting one another to grow and do beautiful things. So think of this, right? We've talked about this extensively. You were given an identity in your life. So that was built by everybody else teaching you. And so you are literally, you know, we don't come out like a lion. We're not a lion. We're helpless and we have to be nurtured. So we're being given this identity. And then nobody tells us to write a mission and a vision statement. So that's the kind of thing you might do when you're older. Like, what's really my mission? So here's the thing. Victimhood is an alignment with your identity and a false mission that's been spoon-fed to you because you've never written one. So let's think of this. Let's say that, you know, you were told that you're not that smart, but you somehow got through and you did good enough and you made it through college and here you are making a good living. You got a kid and a wife and things are good enough. You know, you're making it. You'll get through. You'll retire. That sounds freaking miserable. It just sounds like high-level slavery. It's miserable. Here's how we can fix that. Your identity has brought you to where you are. So you know that whole thing, we're here to do the same thing over and over and over again, expect change, it's insanity. You're saying that's good enough, so the universe is saying, cool, then I don't have to manage you anymore. You've already accepted your plight, you're where you're at. Here's what I would say. Even if that person doesn't seem like a victim, they are a victim. They're just not a deep victim that we recognize. They're still a victim of the system.
A silent victim.
What was that?
A silent victim.
Yeah, like a complacent victim. It's the majority of the victims of the U.S. right now. There's victims everywhere. They're just not calling themselves that. At least the victim is constantly saying "poor me" and acting like a victim. It's the complicit victim who goes to work every day, is part of the game, and is miserable. So here's what we can do. First of all, we've got to go back in and look at what those things in our identity, like you said, we've got to set up and be aware. So I hear you all the time say, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. Where'd that come from? Ask yourself why. We've got some formulas to help them do that. But then the next thing is, we just said it, like, you know, your mission is clear as day. You want to go out and help people have no excuses. I don't need to ask you. No excuses. Be the best you can be. And you want to make sure that you're there to serve as many people as possible before you die. I've never actually specifically asked you that. And I'm sure that's right on point because you say it again and again and again in different words. So then the vision is going to be a little more detailed. It might have, you know, the vehicle you're going to use. So I'm going to use podcasts. I'm going to use these shows. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to connect through speakerships. I'm going to connect through coaching platforms. Sweet. Yep. So you got a nice place to do, you know, nice way to do that. Here's the thing. This all comes back though. If all those three pieces are not in alignment, the identity has not been shaved off of the things that others have given us. It's what we are. If that mission isn't our truth, and then if we don't create a vision so that we can actually say, how am I going to achieve this mission? If we don't create that, guess what? The universe creates it for you. And guess what's part of the universe? The system that's holding you the fuck back. I said it. There you go. But that's what's happening. Bam. So really, now stop for a second if you're listening to us and think about what I'm saying. So part of this universe is a system that's been built. Not right or wrong. It's been built. There's people in the lead. There's a lot of complicit people. There's a lot of poor people. And so those complicit people are the slaves to the machine. At any given point, you can shift the system and shift the universe. Listen to that. You can rebuild your identity today by looking at your identity. You know, you mentioned it. The whole point is, how do we break away from those things that are all a piece of our identity? We have to look at the whole. Identity, mission, vision. And we start to create those synchronized together. And that's the stuff that we'd be doing in the coaching. But the point is, once those are lined up, you can amend those as you go. Your vision, your mission won't shift. Once you nail your mission, that's going to be steadfast. You'll start reshaping your identity because as we're talking about, you'll break away old pieces of what you thought you were, and you realize that's not true. So it starts with awareness. Cut the victim bullshit. You're an infinite being. You are a creator. You're a component of the creator. You're a perspective of the creator. There's no reason you can't be infinitely successful, period. There's no argument to that. Is it scary? Is it easy? I mean, that
Is it easy? No. No, you and I are living proof of what the journey takes. And that's the funny thing is that I was saying it on Facebook Live or a video recently, Scott. I'm like, everybody wants the magic pill. They want the 2-day course. They want the fast action, whatever it is that they have to go through. But yet, when we look back on our lives and we see the significant portions of our history that have shaped our perceptions and our abilities today, when I go back and I talk to people, Scott, and I say, hey, tell me about a time that you went through some shit that was really fucked up and you didn't think you were going to make it through. And they tell me about this horrific situation. I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, so what did you learn from that? 3 things. Bam, bam, bam. They tell me the 3 things. I'm like, okay, so how did those 3 things help you in your future? And it's surprising. And you know this, dude. It's surprising how people never correlate those things. They're like, oh, that gave me the strength to do this. My father died 2 years later and I was able to handle the grief. Oh, this situation happened. I got cancer. I was able to take the strength that I learned from this and I did that. I'm like, so if you didn't go through that experience before, you would not be as strong as you are today. So the thing you're going to go through today is going to make you stronger for the next thing you have to go through tomorrow. And that's the thing that I continue to tell people, like, they want to stay in their comfort zones. They want to stay where it's certain and it's safe and it's like predictable. It's like, okay, but and you and I've talked about this 1,000 times. It's the difference between, for me, living or existing. And for me personally, this, it's like, we're here to live. We're here to taste, smell, feel, enjoy, adventure, and prosper and have an amazing experience while we're in these bodies and these vehicles to be able to do these things. But so many people are just sitting there going, okay, I just want to make it to this place where I'm going to be safe and it's going to be okay. And then you're going to look back in your life and go, fuck, I wasted my entire life on shit that didn't even matter.
So you talk about jumping a lot. Let's invert that. Let's invert that for a moment, okay? We've been listening to words. If you are on social media or if you're in certain circles and you've got spiritual friends, you listen to a lot of people talking about the word ascension, and they're saying that we're going to ascend to something bigger. And people talk about heaven on earth. You listen to the song "Imagine" by John Lennon. It says, imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if we try. So the whole point is, if heaven is here and we can literally ascend into that in physical form, what does that mean? That means we're going to have to leave the ground. So I want you to think about this. Your feet are on the ground right now. You cannot ascend with your feet on the ground. So here's what most of us are doing. We're saying, screw you, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. And every time our feet start to come off the ground and they go back on the ground, we feel great. We feel comfortable. So we're in that certainty. We're going, I'm good. I'm successful. See, I've got it going on. I'm on the ground. Here's the deal. In the inversion of the jump, what about when my feet lift off? What about when I start drifting up in the air? Where am I going? That's scary as shit. You start floating up into whatever's next in this existence. And now that's metaphorical, okay? But it's exactly the feeling you're going to feel. When you start to embrace uncertainty and say, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring me, but I trust in Source, Creator, the universe, God, whatever you say it is, I trust in me as an extension perspective point of that being. Once you sit there and say, there is no question that this is the right decision, and I don't need to know. I'm connected to Source. Is Source going to elevate me to something horrific? No, you know what's the hell? You know what's hell? Is leaving my feet on the ground and staying in complacency and staying in my illusion of certainty. That's hell. If you want to say what it is, the minute you say I'm going to take my feet off the ground and trust in me, trust in my connection, realize suffering comes through separation. Once you do that, whew, that's where we're all going. And I shouldn't say we're all going there in time. Some of us more quickly than others. And I would love you to join us for the ride. And that's addressed to our listeners. And I guarantee you, Chris and I, over the next month, year, through our coaching platform, we're going to help you get there. And we're along for the ride. We're not saying that we're, some Buddhist monk who gets all by any means, but we've got a lot of deeply intelligent, deeply spiritual friends who have taught us quite a bit, mentors, and we're going to bring you every bit of what we've learned and help guide you on that journey. And we know where we're going to go, and we're excited for it. What do you think, Chris?
No, dude. I mean, that's such an impactful statement, is the fact that, when I think about doing offers and I think about selling and I think about, sharing like a program that's going on, one of the most uncomfortable situations I had early on, Scott, because I gave away my coaching for free for so many years. I did pay it forward coaching where I would help somebody out and I would say, okay, go do 3 nice things for somebody else and come back and tell me about it during the course of our coaching relationship. And the thing for me was I found out that they got more out of doing the donation, doing the nice things for somebody else than they did from the coaching for me. And then when I started having to figure out how to charge and monetize for that and to have my own belief system in that, that's where it transitioned to the fact that when you believe in something and you go into the investment of somebody who's had that experience and you trust somebody who has been through those processes, and both you and I have both been through so many different things. And that's the massive impact of being able to take and put this all together, is the fact that we're here coming to serve and share the deepest parts of who we are and how we've overcome the situations that we're in and how we continue to evolve, even though we haven't figured it out. And that's the beautiful thing. So many people are out there, and this, Scott, like, oh, we've got it all figured out. Here's our 10-point proven plan about how to be happy. And they're fucking miserable. I was just talking to a guy the other day. He sells Kangen water. Larry actually is going to be on here. I probably should have said that, but it's actually another dude that actually told me that. But he said, you go into these rich people's houses and they have no furniture. They have a fucking nice house and a nice car that they're paying a shitload of money for, but they have no furniture because they're miserable. It's just all about focusing on what it is that's real to you and what your responsibility is to be able to do your best. I mean, that's one thing that, Scott, that I want to get your opinion on is people sit there and say, I'm doing my best. But do you think that people are really doing their best? Their best.
Yeah, we've talked about that. And I actually did a little something in a speech one time where I said, and I forget exactly, this was years ago, probably like one of my first speeches. I was trying to, get audience interaction. And I asked the question, I said, guys, if you think that, your CEO is the best CEO on the face of the planet, give me 100% and just let him have it. And so, they cheer and I go, hold on a second. I just found out that he said he'll give one person in the room who cheers the loudest $100 right now if we can beat that. And whoever's cheering the loudest gets that $100. And all of a sudden the place is like shaking. And then I go, can we make that 1,000? And all of a sudden the place goes just nuts. And so we're like, you told me you gave me 100% in the beginning. Then you said it again. So literally it's just, what's the stimulus? What's the incentive? And so people do not give 100%. And we've talked about this, like burning your boats or taking the leap. They don't give 100% until something is really on the line. And that really just depends on, is it my family? Is it my life? Is it like, what is it? And a lot of people will do it for nothing. They'll never give 100%. And then they have to hit rock bottom and then they make a comeback. You and I have said this a million times. Please do yourself a favor. Don't go to a rock bottom place. Wherever you're at, we'll meet you there. Let's move forward. It's much better. You don't need the rock bottom lesson. Like, you don't need the experiential, I need to be like miserable, nothing. You can start from wherever you're at now. It's way better, I promise. So To that point, let's get people to give 100%, a true 100%, because they know their creator and they were given brilliance, and use that now, right now, not tomorrow.
Damn, dude, you should just keep talking. You're fucking inspirational tonight. I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean,
I'm away from my home. I'm
no, it's beautiful, dude. It's beautiful. I mean, that's what we bring to the table, Scott. Like I messaged you earlier. I'm like, let's just be us. This is our show. We don't have to be anything for anybody else that we don't want to be except for us. And that's the beautiful thing. And that's the thing, like I said before, is that people are attracted to the fact that we're just real people saying, hey, here's our experience. Here's our perception. Here's our training. Here's our education. Here's our knowledge. And here's what we want to do for you to make sure that you're coming along for the ride with us. We don't have everything perfectly figured out, but I was sitting there laying in my pool earlier and I was looking up and I've always been in the forward thing. Like, okay, I want to move to Central California. I want a view of the beach. I want a view of the mountain. And I'm like, I'm laying in my pool. Obviously, I'm like looking at the palm trees. I'm like, fuck, my life is perfect right now. My life is perfect right now. And that's one thing I really wanted to share as we part on this show, is that, we're always looking for something else. We're always looking for what's next. We're always looking for what's better. We're always looking in retrospect of did we sacrifice? Are we being mediocre? Are we being complacent? And that's something that you have the freedom to answer to yourself. Honestly, I was talking with somebody earlier this week, Scott, and I said, do you realize that you're lying to yourself You're lying to yourself. You're running from your own truth. You're going into these short-term gratification situations to ignore the truth that you know you need to address. And it's all in here. You're running away from your fucking problem in your brain. Do you realize how ridiculous that is? And she broke down crying. And I'm like, you're trying to psych yourself out from dealing with your own shit. But once you deal with your own shit and once you have that freedom and you fall, it's seriously fucking amazing what happens and the people you attract in your life. Like Pam's on here tonight. We're doing a show with her. Larry Schneider's on here tonight. Oh, look at the baby. I connected with Larry the other day on a FaceTime. I mean, I'm meeting so many incredible people during this time of just being me and just surrendering to the fact I had a 26-year corporate career. I made lots of money, had a lot of great things. I could go out and do a corporate career again. But this is what life is about. It's about living, not existing. And I want you to take us out and let us know what the people can really do about their mindset and about freedom and independence, and carry us out, Scott. And then you and I will talk afterwards. But I want you to take it out for us tonight.
Let's do this.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys all for everything.
Let's give them a fun takeaway, right? Let's give them something they can do that's good. First and foremost, one of the things that I love to do with Chris on one of our shows, and for everybody listening, I want you to start thinking about this. What is your mission? And I'm asking you what your mission is, because once you find that true alignment with what you're supposed to be, everything else is going to drop into place, and the right people will start coming into your life. So many good things will happen. So a lot of the issues and the symptoms that you think you want to heal and then everything will be right, those symptoms will trickle away once you have an effective mission and those right people fall into your existence. I promise you that. So first and foremost, think of that. What is a mission? Why you're here on this earth. Start to think about that purpose, that mission. The next thing I want to challenge you guys to do, and we've got this on Facebook, and if you go to the facebook.com/Go Love Now site, we actually have something called the Go Love Now Challenge. And the Go Love Now Challenge is take a video, or you could just write it out in a post, but share something with everybody else, that a way that you bring more love or kindness to the world. So I'm going to give you an example of one of the ones that spawned me to create the Go Love Now Challenge a few years back, and we're rekindling it. We're bringing it back again. I went to Buenos Aires. I was in Argentina, and I wanted to go bike riding. And I was doing it just to kind of get away and just kind of find myself and just like more deeply connect with spirit and myself. So I was about to rent a bike, and instead of renting a bike, I just happened to look on Craigslist, and the bike was going to cost $22 a day or something like that for a nice bike. And they literally just came out with Craigslist, just came out with it in Buenos Aires. There was only like 4 items on all of Craigslist in Buenos Aires. This was years ago. And guess what one of the items was? A bike. And here was the caveat. It's extra tall, so nobody wants it. Don't come if you're not really tall. I'm 6'4". So I literally buy the bike from this guy. He was psyched to sell it. He was telling me about his family. He had to get rid of it. He was trying to buy groceries for the family, whatever. I bought the bike for cheaper than I would have rented everything for. And here's what I ended up doing. At the end of that week or 10 days that I stayed there, I went through town, and in broken Spanish, I spoke to everybody in town and found the perfect person to give that bike to. There was a guy whose wife was in the hospital. She just had twins, and they weren't doing too well. He had to work during the day, and he was trying to get back and forth to the hospital, and he had no car. When I handed him that bike and said, "I love you, brother," that moment, I was like, why are we not doing this stuff 24/7? Tears in his eyes, one of the most beautiful moments of my life. And I'm like, this is what this is about. I want you guys to find ways like that to be super creative. Since then, I've heard students come up with simple ones. You're at the parking meter and you're done with the parking sticker. Take it off your car and stick it back to that meter so that they can come and use it if you have an extra hour left on it. Like, do things that pay back that cost you nothing, and then put a smile on somebody's face. And so be creative with it. Do something that we can pay it forward with, create a video or post, and then just hashtag Go Love Now Challenge. That's how you're going to become somebody who's passing on the kindness, the love, the compassion. That's what America's about. That's what unity is about. That's what humanity's about. That's what we want you to do. Go Love Now Challenge. I love you all. Thank you guys so much for being with us tonight. I know the show was a little different, just me and Chris. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And every one of you is the most beautiful human being on the face of the earth, and your perspective matters. Love you.